everybody, welcome to Forge the Narrative. This is a podcast. We try to get weekly, but we had some stuff going on last week. Conventions after conventions after conventions, tournament prep, all kind of stuff. It set us back, but thanks for hanging out with us. My name is Paul, your host. I'm joined by Red Powell.
What up?
Tandy Gates and Adam Camilleri.
Hey, everybody.
G'day.
Welcome to the show. Hope everyone is having a good evening. Want to talk about some of the Blood Angel stuff. You know, it's still fresh in my mind, as y'all might expect. I want to talk about what won the Nova Open, one of the largest independent events out there in the land, with some competitive Age of Sigmar and Warhammer 40,000 happening. And if you tune into the Warhammer Twitch stream, you might hear some familiar voices talking about that event over the past weekend. I encourage you to go do it. It was a fun broadcast. Adam, you and Tech Priest Werner did an amazing job.
Thank you so much. It was a lot.
Oh, I tried to be there, but you know, I knew it was in completely amazingly capable hands. And whenever I had the opportunity, I tuned in to listen, and it was fun to see all that action happening. What actually won it?
Yeah, so it was won by Chaos Cults, which was a very much a horde-based archetype, which hasn't been like seen in strength since Pariah Nexus. A lot of people believed that Pariah Nexus, the patch there, when it took away a lot of ability to recycle units from things like Unending Swarm and Guard and stuff like that. And so there was a bit of a meta pivot towards more quality shooting rather than quantity shooting. You know, people started dropping all their aggressive bricks for eradicators and stuff like that. And then this thing comes along, which is maxed accursed cultists, and then like 100, 120 guards, like cultist bodies, essentially guardsman bodies, and it just saturates the board. It's got 3 very killy, very durable bricks, and then the rest of the army just plays support, saturates the mission objectives, and scores all the cards. It's really strong. And the final was it against Adeptus Sororitas, so it was against Sisters. And while Sisters do have a couple of good tools for dealing with hordes, mostly Seraphim squads, like big units of Seraphim and Bringers of Flame
and stuff.
Yeah. And the fact that they can like be deep struck down, you know, clear 2 or 3 units and then jump away after they shoot means that you can kind of keep them safe. But then the rest of the army is just like multi-melters, which congratulations, you shot a melter gun and killed a cultist. Have you got 12 turns to clear the rest of these guys at this rate? No, you don't. And so it becomes a bit of a problem for some of the upper meta armies at the moment, which I think is really cool.
I do like that bit of just like, did you bring enough bullets to get through the amount of bodies I have with the turns? You know, when you stack in a cover save, you stack in maybe some heading out some behind some terrain, depending on what the objective plays out, and you create that weird proposition for your opponent where they have to get risky play outside of the comfort zone they've been used to, and sometimes they just didn't bring enough tools to do it.
Exactly right. The top 5 ended up being Tyranids, Thousand Suns, 2 Chaos Space Marines, like I said, one that won and one that came third, and then that Adeptus Sororitas. The Tyranids was an interesting one. It was Synaptic Nexus playing pretty much like Nidzilla, like playing very thick, double Norn emissaries in there, which is very cute.
That was third place?
That was 5th place.
Oh,
like in a Godzilla kind of cute way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 4th place was Thousand Suns, pretty conventional Thousand Suns list, Magnus and all the trimmings and stuff like that. A couple of Vortex beasts. And then 3rd place was a different take on the same Chaos Space Marine list that won, but it was Renegade Raiders. And it was kind of had the yin and yang going, like had 5 good tanks, like had 3 Predators, 2 Vindicators, and then still had the Max Accursed Cultists. So it brought the problems that the Horde lists are bringing to the meta, but also had like a good answer to things like Knights, things that the Accursed Cultists can't really kill through. So it wasn't going all in on that. But despite that, the one that was much more all in on the Horde did go all the way, and was the one that beat that. They ended up playing the mirror match in the semifinals, and the Horde list beat the Yin and Yang list.
That seems very reasonable, just having more bodies on the ground for those objectives.
Correct.
Objectives are so important. Now, the Accursed Cultists are not battle line.
No, they are not. No. But the Traitor Guardsmen, which are being taken in droves, are, in addition to regular cultists. And so they both get to be taken in just absolute waves. And despite them not being like super killy, they still just got if you want, you got 60 guys and each one of them has 3 special weapons in each one of those 10-mans. So you've got like 6 melter guns, 6 plasma guns. So you can do a bit of heavy lifting, like you can, very easily clear things like scouts. People's other utility units, you can really shut them down quickly. But then, someone's got a Rogal Dawn. You ain't got nothing for it, but the hope is that you just don't, you either give it too much to do or you hide everything and it just doesn't have enough range and enough distance to get and shut you down.
I've seen a couple things work their way into list recently, like with the Thousand Suns, the Mutalith Vortex Beast. have been one of those things. And then in World Eaters.
Yeah, Forge
Fiends. And also World Eater Chaos Spawn are still OC1.
Yes, unlike everyone else's.
And I say still OC1.
Really
it's like I think that the writing's on the wall that when you get a codex, those Chaos Spawn will likely go to OC0. I mean, I don't know that, and that's actually one of the brilliant things about the way that these units are broken up into separate books is they can function differently. They can have different stats. I don't know that that's long-term intent, but I do like the fact that it could exist. But right now, World Eaters their Chaos Spawn are OC1, whereas Chaos Space Marines are OC0, which is why I think you may not see them there. But you are still seeing them in World Eaters.
I mean, you got OC1, Chaos Spawn, no bikes, no Raptors. I think it's a fair trade.
I kind of agree. I think that's fair. Yeah, no Vindicators as well. Like, so no Vindies. They play Death Guard don't have Vindies either, but Thousand Suns get them for some reason.
Because there was a cool blue painted one at the studio.
Oh, that and they made the PBCs for Death Guard, and they're like, they don't need anything else. They have a PBC now.
Oh, I'm kidding, of course. I don't want to speculate too far on that, but I do think it is still an option for this edition, and like the design space could be wide open based on just how the things are laid out, which is kind of interesting. We're going to talk more on that later. But I do want to talk about those Forge Fiends in the World Eaters list. Since we know we have some World Eater enthusiasts.
Yeah, well, I mean, thank God we got something still to hold on to. But really, I mean, Forge Fiends and Mauler Fiends, I think we saw, we've seen those kind of stick around. Those hadn't gone anywhere. We'd seen them. And so it's good to see them a mainstay and see them hold their ground. I think it's, yes, World Eaters do have Predators. They've got at least that much. They didn't get Vindicators, but the Forge Fiends definitely bring enough firepower to be reckoned with in the middle of all the other melee things that are going on. And so there is a balance to it. I can't say it's completely off kilter and that they're missing everything. They do have utility, and it's good to see the Forge Fiends being put to such good use and they are great looking models too. That's another part to it.
I admire the fact that they put them in their list. I get so kind of like wrapped up in the fact that get in there, keep charging.
Well, I see the Forge Fiends as very necessary pieces for the World Eaters at the moment, especially in singles play. In teams, you might be able to get away with it, but the transport issue. When you have a one-phase army, transports are really problematic.
Like rhinos,
Sagittars, Impulsors, things of that ilk. Immolators, man. Immolators is a huge issue for World Eaters because not only do they pack weapons that are really dangerous to stuff like 8-bound and even Angron with Miracle Dice, what are you going to do? You're going to use a unit of 6 Exalted 8-bound to go crack an Immolator? It's a terrible return, mate. Just to have 5 Dominions get out, they still have a bunch of Melter Guns, kill 2 or 3 of you and still hold the objective. Like, it's just a terrible, terrible exchange. And so you need something like a Forge Fiend in order to not get got in the trade war versus some of these more MSU-based and or transport-based lists.
It's a great point. I think it's really valid, and the Forge Fiend's weaponry really does come through specifically for that, being able to crack it open and then allow the full-on melee punch to hit it. So it's a good point.
I totally agree.
People may be picking up on the fact we've mentioned Adeptus a lot. They're kind of thought to be one of the best armies in the game right now, and so if you are playing in a match play setting, you're probably going to need an answer for them. And I think we're seeing some people and players change their list around for that eventuality.
100%. Whenever you have a stable Predator, which is what Assisters were and have been since their Codex release, people will start molding the meta around them. And things like Thousand Suns hold up really well versus Assisters, or can play a very similar style.
They don't have Predators, they have Castigators.
This guy. Yeah, it is a Predator. That's exactly what a Castigator is. But the meta will evolve around you. If you are standing still and just playing Bringers of Flame, people will crack you. They will meta against you, and that's exactly what the Chaos Cults were. We saw, probably the best Sisters player in the field up until that point, and arguably they were undefeated going into the grand final, into the 9 rounds, by the way. This thing was 9 rounds. 9, that's a lot. I was exhausted just watching them play, and I was exhausted because I had to talk the entire time they were playing, but, I was exhausted just thinking about how much 40k they were playing. I also played in a team event, by the way. I played in the 5-player team event the day before, which I will not be doing again.
A little too much.
It was too much. My jet-lagged, soggy, unkept self, just getting off the plane, having one good night's sleep, then having to play a day of 40k straight into 3 days of streaming 40k. Sisters is the thing people are mettering against, and I played Dark Angels. I played Gladius Dark Angels in that event, and once again, I think I've got a very good game into Sisters with that list.
Mm-hmm. But did you think about that? Was that how you kind of put the list together? Was about you knew you'd eventually face Sisters?
I knew it was likely, and I wanted Sisters to feel like they didn't have a good game. Like, because of course, in the teams pairing process, when you put up a player to be paired, I didn't want the other team to be comfortable just slapping down Sisters and thinking they were going to get big wins or be, there's no good matchups in your lineup versus Sisters, so I can just put Sisters up and get a free ride.
Yeah. Understood. Another thing's been coming up. Knights been all over the place. Big things. So, I think vehicles and stuff are real prominent in the game right now.
We're seeing the flip now. It was Chaos Knights pretty much all the way up until Prior Nexus, and now Imperial Knights are starting to overtake Chaos Knights in top placings. Well, in X and 1 placings, because we still haven't seen many event wins by either Knight category. But Imperial Knights getting the vast majority of the better buffs from Pariah Nexus, being able to go through the walls and stuff like that, has meant that they've just got an entire new lease on life in the way that they play.
Canis Rex has always been huge.
Look,
no pun intended.
Do we want to do a segment on what are the best single model units in the game? Because Canis makes that list, easily makes that list.
Top 10, and Canis is 2 of them. That's
yeah. So Hector just smacking people in the head with his briefcase. Top 10 unit.
But the Atropos is, not in the top 10 best units, but has been on the rise too. The Atropos stock seems to be going up.
So the Atropos it was the Crusader. Everyone was taking the Crusader. It was Crusader Lancer Canis, and now the Atropos has taken the spot of the Crusader. It's because the Crusader, whilst incredible with it's a Mythic Hero? No, it's not Mythic Hero. The one where it lets you pick up, put down.
That's the Mysterious something.
Mysterious Guardian.
Yeah.
While the Crusader is extremely good at that, it's a single modal unit. You can't when you're paying 500 plus points for a knight, you can't afford it to be solo phase. So as in it can only do damage in one phase. The Crusader has nothing to do in combat. Whereas the Atropos is incredibly good at cracking transports because it gets +1 to hit against vehicles and monsters, and it gets a +1 to wound as well as the +1 to hit against other Titanics. But the fact is, it's a one-shot kill versus transports, and then still has a very respectable melee profile. Still has a very a knight's melee profile.
Yeah, it can swing one of its guns as a cutter or whatever.
As the laser cutter, in combat. So it's got a damage 4 weapon in combat with 6 attacks, or it has its tap dance, sweep attack now. And so the Atropos has taken the place of the Crusader because it's a multimodal. It fights and it shoots. And it still fits most of the brief of what you wanted from the Crusader. While the Crusader's shooting ceiling is definitely higher, the fact is if you were playing in a melee matchup, the Crusader's got nothing to give you.
So we're talking about some of the things we saw at the Nova Open. Nova Open is an independent event run by some fabulous people. I had the pleasure of knowing them, and they put a lot in the convention. I would consider that a destination event. If you can make it there and can't make it to any of the other large ones, it's definitely worth going to and being part of that atmosphere. But that wasn't the only thing. Lots of other events there, including Age of Sigmar. One of the most giant Age of Sigmar tournaments in the universe.
Yeah, 100%. So I think it was
almost 200 players, right?
Yeah, no, 167 players on the day.
Almost 170 players.
Yeah. They may have sold 200 odd tickets, but it was 176. So 67 played on the day. The top 3 was Disciples of Zinch, Lumineth Realm Lords, and Gloomspite Gits. And Tanya, straight off the cuff, said, "Adam, open up the Gloomspite Gits list. I bet you it's all trolls." And she was 100% correct. What's going on there? Is that just a stat check?
Yeah, it's just extremely tough. I feel like it's what Death Guard wishes that it was. It's like uh,
No.
it's insane wards. It's minuses and debuffs when you get close. So I could see a shooting army doing better against it. And the trolls themselves are no slouch also in combat, so you got to get up close. You get debuffed for getting close, and the trolls are still really dangerous if they get to you. So, yeah, it's just extremely tough to chew through all of those wounds, and there's a lot of wounds there. So, I only had the pleasure of playing against it once so far. But yeah, and then I believe that list had some squigs in it as well,
Yep.
which move extremely fast, and they're also super dangerous. But they can clear the entire board in a turn sometimes. So yeah, it's a high pressure list through the squigs, and then it just moves into like the mid board and says, "Can you kill us?" And a lot of factions can't.
There you go.
Well, nice to see that happen. Of course, nice to see big tournaments happening, and I mentioned just the vibe of that event is something that a lot of people are really looking forward to. That is like their homecoming in certain many instances, and that's what's really neat as you travel to these events. There, you find pockets of that kind of stuff all over the place, and that's fun to see, and it's fun to kind of try to tap into when you are there, and kind of makes you want to go again. So, um, looking forward to that coming around next year, and of course the big events. The next big event I think that I'll be going to is the U.S. Open Series in Tampa. So if you're going to be in that area, let us know what's
I'll
up.
be there too.
Nice.
Yep, can't wait.
Expect some pictures on Twitter and Instagram. And also see what we can get up to. There's some cool places in Tampa. I think if we're in the same place at the Tampa event that we were last year, there is almost like a neat like section of outdoor restaurants, like within walking distance, like right out. You walk right outside, and you're just there. Some of the places kind of blend together for me. I won't lie. I look around, I was like, what's a cool tiki place to go to, and then what's a cool, hamburger place and taco place to go to. Not in that order necessarily, but those are a lot more in each location. But there is a cool place that when after the event, completely and totally zonked out and exhausted, walk right out not too far if the weather participates. So hopefully we can do that. And Reg, you had the same experience that I do.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It'll be my first time at the Tampa Open, so I'm excited.
This is typically with the Open Series have been kind of spreading it around, but there's a couple places because like either the community there or whatever coming back to, and this is one of them second time we've been back there, so looking forward to it. This past weekend in Atlanta, I was at DragonCon, which is a giant nerd convention, and had an amazing time with the family. My youngest likes to dress up in various things. This time, my wife and I also dressed up. I'll dress up from time to time. We'll dress up, but haven't done it in the last couple of years. She wanted to go, and she was actually wanted to do something about like basically Save the Bee awareness. And
Aww,
yeah.
I love that.
And then so she had like a bee get up, and then what I did to support her was actually put on like a little sunflower hat. Almost like face mask, and we walked around. But when you're in pairs as a costume, people seem to like that, which was always nice because she got to hand out more stickers and say save the bees. So it was a fun time. Of course, I got to meet Stranko, comic book artist, and it was worth it. He signed something for me. Not a comic. I don't actually have the comic that I wanted him to sign. I certainly did. I didn't even expect to see him there. But so I got a print, and signed the print, and told me a cool story about X-Men. As you know, I'm a big X-Men fan, and he drew for the X-Men for a period of time. So I won't bore y'all with that details on this particular podcast. Maybe it's for the after show or whatever. But it was so great to get to meet this individual and hear some stories from the 60s and the 70s of comic books, which was fun.
That's awesome.
Got a couple of photo ops. Got to meet very, very briefly. These photo ops are like cattle call. It's just like, get the picture. You got someplace to be. Get out. But Patrick Warburton, who was a prince, the voice of everything, basically. Got to meet him. Got to meet Alan Tudyk briefly, and then Nathan Fillion. And we were pleased with all those encounters.
That's awesome.
Meeting. Okay.
It's just awesome when all the different people that gather. I mean, Dragon Con, we just talked about Gen Con. They're roughly the same size, right? But totally different kind of orientation in how it goes, right? Like Gen Con and board games, Dragon Con and cosplay and all the things that it brings in there, and to see all of the celebrities and everything, it's really awesome to see it come into Atlanta.
Now these photo ops, it was a paid for thing. It's not like, wasn't like a privilege or whatever. Like definitely, had to pay for the slot, and then you went through it as a cattle call. But making the most out of those, 45 seconds or whatever you got was pretty cool, and it was cool to see them also participate with it, which was nice. And you're right, like Gen Con, 6:30 p.m. It's a ghost town.
Yeah.
6:30 a.m. people are still just starting to wind down. Dragon Con. It's crazy. And the fact, of the 80,000 people that are there, I think it was 80,000 at the gate, so probably more than that. Half of them are in costume, if not more.
That's sick.
Yeah, and it's not, some of them are subtle, but they're all there and having fun with it, and that's, anyway, had a great time. Loved being there with the family, playing games. We actually brought some little games with us. The Hyatt, the same Hyatt that the Grand Narrative finale is hosted at. So I'm very familiar with the area. They had a specialty hamburger, which was a triple patty hamburger with it was good. I'll just put it with that. Had one the first day we were there, and had another one the third day that we were there. Couldn't pass it up. But there's also, speaking of cosplay, there's a bunch of also Warhammer cosplay. I saw a great Fabius Bile costume.
Oh, you didn't take pictures?
I'm terrible at taking pictures. I shouldn't say I'm terrible at remembering to take pictures while I'm there.
Me too.
And seeing
me too.
But there are pictures that exist.
I'll scour the internet and see if I can find some.
But great, there's always Space Marines, in different costumes. And it was actually a long, long time ago, back in 2005, is where I debuted my Space Marine costume there. And it was changed how they do photos at the convention because of those costumes.
Huh.
They now, it's weird. People will say we couldn't move very fast, so we were creating an issue. We're stopping to want to take our pictures and wanting us to stop, and so it was creating all kinds of traffic jams. But that changed how the convention handled pictures back then, as a result of probably not just us, but they probably figured out they needed a different way of handling that. So now the Marriott is like the primary get-together costume view and picture spot, but they have a much bigger open area to do that in. Anyway, DragonCon was cool. Not Warhammer related, so I'll stop there. But no, that's a normal haunt for me. So if you're in the area and go to that convention, you give a fist bump or share a beverage or whatever. Let me know what's up. But it was nice to kind of actually have a little bit of a vacation, like an actual vacation. I did try to join the folks on the stream for a little bit. It wasn't working out, but I knew it was in capable hands. And when I went back to the room for any kind of rest, I was always tuned in. And so if you want to share a bit of that and know that what was going on all sides of the East Coast, tune into the Twitch and watch Adam and Tech Priest Werner recap. I guess it's good. Well, they were living at real time. It'd be a recap for you at that point.
Yeah, go check it out. It's a very, very incredible series of games, some of the closest games I've ever called. We had a couple 1-point games, and we had multiple days where no game was wider than 5 points splitting between winners and losers. It was crazy close all the way through.
I was only able to tune into the first day, but for me, being more of like a filthy casual and hobby sort of focused player, I really enjoy the first day because I feel like you guys find the coolest looking armies.
We do. Yeah, we
Yeah.
try and like, so we have essentially me and Paul worked out most of the system 5 years ago, 6, 7, 8 years ago when we started doing LVOs and stuff like that. Some of the bootleg variety, where day one we find the best looking armies that are in competitive matchups. Like, doesn't necessarily need to be like 5-0 players, 6-0 players, whatever. Just two incredibly good armies that will match up well into each other, where one won't steamroll the other. And then day two, we kind of follow the top seedings, but not necessarily. It doesn't always have to be the undefeated or literally the best players at the event. And then last day is literally we just do top tables if there is a last day. Usually if it's like a 6-rounder, the first like 4 rounds we get to play with. And then the last 2 rounds, we just top table all the way.
Well, of course, also the stream is like, if you come on the stream, it's not mandatory. Like, we don't make anybody come on the stream. So, we try to keep it, kind of open like that, to where if someone, like, let's say the top 2 undefeated or one of the undefeated players and the finals didn't want to play, well, we're not going to make them play. We're not going to not stream the game. It's like,
no, you will show us your game.
Straight up at Nova, there was a gentleman in the top cut, so the top 16 going into the 5th round onwards. So at Nova, you play your first, I can't remember if it's first 4 or 5 rounds, and then you get potted into pods of your like peers, people with the same win path as you. And there was a gentleman in the top pod, because I went around and asked everybody in the top pod, you happy to be on stream, like blah, 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 yada, yada. And there's one guy who says, genuinely, dude, I play worse on stream, so please only put me on if I make the final. And I said, totally fine, mate. Absolutely. I respect that. Yeah. If you think like playing on stream hurts your outcomes, we don't want that to be the case. I mean, I definitely gave him a spiel like, you're not mic'd up. It's just a table in the room with better lighting and more space. Yeah. If you're not willing to buy into
you're getting streamed.
Exactly right. So. Exactly right. But if it's going to play with your head, I'll just dodge you, dude. No problem. No sweat, no foul. And we'll always do that. We'll always pay respect to the players of the competitors. I mean, top table's top table, baby. And if you're in a top table, sorry, too bad, so sad, the world and the people of Nova, because we're there to, a lot of the time we're there to honor the community and showcase the local talent and the event, and to build interest and excitement about the event and about the game. And it's a bit weird to not stream the top table.
I agree. I think that's the preference is to always do it. But if for some reason it didn't work out that way, then bracket 2 top tables.
There was another gentleman in the, and Red might speak to this if he wants to, but there's another gentleman in the top 16 who was a member of the military. And he said, 100%, I can't be on stream. Even from the top table, I can't be on stream. It's it's a conflict of interest with whatever. And I don't know if Red's going to be.
He's supposed to be at work that day.
Yeah, that's what I said. Are you supposed to be at work, mate? Are you supposed to be on site somewhere? And I said, no, that's totally fine, man. If that's the T's and C's of your job, we ain't gonna compromise that kind of stuff. And so much the better he lost. No, he was a
weird how that
jet.
Works out.
Lovely jet. Yeah.
But I wouldn't want. I feel like being a mid-table kind of player that I don't feel like I would be comfortable on stream at all. So I appreciate that if I ever went to one of those big events, I can just opt out.
And yet you've been on Play on Tabletop multiple times and stuff like that. So you feel like just at an event when it's live, it would be a bit different, play more in your head, and you feel like you'd have less of a. And that's totally fine. Like Paul and I and the other people who do streaming, we definitely want to make it as low a barrier, not to entry, but. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I don't want to be on stream because it's stressful enough being at events. I have social anxiety, and I'm usually one of, maybe 5 women in the room. So it's like an added stress on top of all of these other stresses. And, I just feel like also maybe the chat wouldn't be as kind perhaps to a lady playing the game on stream. I don't know if you've had a woman play 40k on the stream yet.
Yep, absolutely.
And how that went, I'm not sure, but I've had some instances on my own stream. So it's just another stress to deal with.
I do think that whatever, the person playing is never lost on us, and if the people want certain things, we definitely try to accommodate, and that's always going to be the case. The way that goes.
I'm proud to say that like just about every stream I'm involved in, and when I do have the opportunity to put on a female competitor or somebody appearing to be female, I'll always give them the option. I mean, to your point, Tanya, a lot of the time I get declined. Like people be like, I'd rather not. But we did have a lady on our stream this time, which was absolutely awesome. At Nova, I think that was bloody brilliant, and I want to continue to what I can as a guy to champion that. But yeah, 100% agree with you. It's funnily enough, it's our job as the commentators to be your defense system when you're on stream. Of course, people in most of the time, and I'd say like 95% of people who are in comments, like in the live chat on streams, are absolutely fantastic. They're wonderful. And a lot of the time, if you come in and just start spouting a bunch of negative stuff, the moderators usually give you a warning and kick your butt out. But if people ever come in and I mean, I've had a gentleman who has been caught cheating on stream and then admitted it, paid his dues, and was now on stream twice at Nova, and straight up, I've gone on commentary and been like, we should champion that, as long as that guy continues to have turned over a new leaf. I will champion having that person on stream and show that redemption is possible, and you can change, and you can admit, and you can be better. And I think that's a narrative that we need way more than, oh my God, that person accidentally rolled 91 dice for his Orc Boys attack, then 90 to kill 5 scouts who flippity flip absolutely cares. Then, that kind of, yeah, exactly right. Like we never want to demonize the player. And it's, I'll say this, please reel this back in if you don't want this can of worms open. We have professional expectations in 40k when we don't have professional players. We have 5 professional players in the whole world, and sure, maybe you can hold them to these standards, but Joe and Bob from around the corner who play in their garage twice a year and then come to Nova on stream should not be, held to a level of which, they are doomed if they get a rule wrong.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
Well, I think that the chat and us too, of course, we're incredibly forgiving for that and are by that, but that's not exactly what we're kind of wandering off topic at this point. But as far as like the idea of what we put on the streams on day one, we try to do it, especially at a tournament, like a match play tournament, try to get more and more competitive as it goes. Yeah. But on day one, we want to showcase things that look amazing and may be the only time we see them in the placings.
I can't remember if you just said this to me, Paul, but day one should be a love letter to the local community. There should be local legends and heroes, beautifully painted models, and showcasing the region we're in. And I love that. I love that perspective. I can't remember if you said it, but it was brilliant, whoever did.
Well, let's take a quick break, then we'll come back, and I will do a little bit of complaining about the Blood Angels, and then a little bit of a love letter to them. That's
nice.
See y'all in a minute.
FTN is brought to you by Discount Games Inc. Please visit them at www.discountgamesinc.com. And don't forget to ask Jay about ways to save even more on your hobby projects.
Hey everybody, we are back. Please check out our sponsors. Hit us up on Patreon as well if that's something that is something you can do. Get some t-shirts. I'm not wearing the t-shirt today, but I was wearing it in the last show. It's comfortable. It's nice. There's plenty of styles up there. Thanks for doing that if you've done it already. The Blood Angels. So last time we talked about the Blood Angel Codex, we went down the units that have disappeared. And it's just a slight point for me that Corbulo is one of those models or units that disappeared, but his name is still featured in the book. And also the Librarian Dreadnoughts disappeared, but they are still featured in the Librarius under Mephiston. Like, I would feel better if they just photoshopped him out of those pictures. And I'm not like a super enthusiast for the Librarian Dreadnoughts. I just feel like that it was something cool and special that only existed for the Blood Angels, and I don't know why they don't exist currently when we've had the opportunity to make an upgrade sprue that is awesome and expansive. I think we could have included some of this stuff when it's just modifications on existing other mainline models.
You need some closure there, Paul.
I feel like I've been bad touched enough by Librarian Dreadnought that I'm not sad to see it go. Good riddance.
So I look that aside, that a completely
Yeah,
aside.
that whole thing aside. Don't worry about how good it was. How much, just a teleporting dreadnought. Don't worry about that thing.
There have been times when it wasn't always amazing, but it's been, it's had its period of ups and downs, and that being, is cool. But I'm just pointing out there that in the design space, when we are looking at this, maybe that should be on the minds of the collective, whoever's handling that. I don't know. Like,
Librarian Redemptor Dread.
Whoever's listening, if you can make that happen, make Paul very happy.
Isn't the Death Company Dread just the
Brutalis?
Brutalis Dread?
Yeah.
I mean, just sell Blood Angel stands are like a Blood Talon piece for arm for Redemptors, and cool, go get yourself a Librarian
It just needs
Redemptor.
A different hood.
Yeah, and a hood. Yeah, different head.
Yeah, that's the thing that folds down, the separate bit that sticks on there and folds down.
We were talking about this, right? Like, they had the Gladiator bar, the Baal Gladiator. Slap the supercharger that Baal's known for on the back of the Gladiator and give it a flamer turret, and you're good to go. And give me the plasma one with Dark Angels.
But also, this is where I got to bring back around, because this is the way. Look, I want to put it out there. Is like, I think that if you're going to mention the Librarian Dreadnoughts as a thing, that should be in the book still, especially if you got the lore. We play this game for all different kind of reasons, and I'm not talking about how competitive I didn't say you had to make it good or OP. I just think that it should exist.
Are you saying that they everything in the lore should be represented in model form, and that if they don't, shame on them? Because that's a tall order.
So I think that is, of course, the perfect state. That will be the 100%. What is it when you like when the monks would illuminated state of 40k? But I know that's not reasonable, and I don't think that's reasonable. But it gets a little harder when it existed and it now seemingly does not exist, but yet still a feature. That's where I think it's a little.
Yeah, that's fair.
Take that for what it is, but that's my beef. But in saying that, going and examining and digging deeper into the book, and the fact we've got the red, the black, and the gold detachments is kind of what it's at.
Yeah, that's true.
But what I do love about this is that you're not prohibited from taking any of the other specialty units from the other detachments to make your list. And so I still feel like you can have a Blood Angel represented force in each one of these detachments. You just may be, of course, because of the way the detachment rules set out, be incentivized to take one thing or the other. And going with that, I've talked about what isn't there. I feel like that this is a powerful, well-rounded, robust supplement when you pair it with the Space Marines, which is what it's supposed to be.
The only comparison we have for the Blood Angels one is the Dark Angels one. And I do have to say the Blood Angels book does a better job of celebrating and enhancing the Blood Angel specific units than the Dark Angels book does. So
here we go.
If you look at it,
you thought I was bad. Strap in.
if you look at it, and this has been shown to be pretty much verbatim true by Dark Angels players, Gladius is better than Inner Circle in what Inner Circle does. Mm-hmm. Inner Circle wants you to take Deathwing Companions and Knights, Deathwing Knights. They're just better in Gladius because they get advance and charge. They get a bunch of other stuff. They get Lance and Lethals and all this other stuff. Not Lethal, sorry, just Lance. And plus AP. And Stormlance is better than Company Heroes because advance and charge is better than advance and shoot. Just straight up, like as army rules. And
look, I don't want new bits. I don't want a new detachment. I don't want a new book. I just want a PDF that says you can use Vindicators, and y'all are over here trying to rewrite the game,
trying to engineer bits, trying to be like, look, if I can design it my way,
Yeah. How do you feel about them like taking away Elysian drop troops and then giving their jump packs to Tempestus Scions?
You know what? I'm actually okay with that one.
You actually okay with
like,
that, Red?
yeah, no, I mean like Elysian drop troops. Don't worry, those have a. I mean, they announced it right at the Nova Open. They
Yep.
did the reveal. They talked about the Death Core is going to get an expanded
Expanded range.
Yep,
Yep.
which is going to be awesome, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are happy with that. I know Elysian drop troops have a special place in someone's heart out there from a Forge World and the Imperial armor and all that used to have them. But I think the Scions look great, and I think that it's an awesome way to incorporate it. I think that it's a good thing for Kill Team. I'm kind of glad to see it go that way. I mean, it was cool how they brought Kazarkin in, but to actually make Scion drop troops, and there's nothing saying, again, it's just like, I mean, all that is a head swap. And I bet you those backpacks are really modular and able to be able to just put on a trooper with I mean, like that's an easy one. That's you can
So I want somebody to write Red a supplement that is the Tanith first and only, that he has to play in Crusade. But what happens is, whenever a model dies, it's gone from his list because there ain't any more.
Yeah,
and we make him play with it. And we're just
you
like,
here's the books, have you?
I've read little bits.
Yeah,
Look,
yeah,
there's a lot of books.
Really well.
I'm intimidated. I'm intimidated by the book. I know they get supplemented.
The guy who plays competitive 40k and has to essentially read all these different codexes is intimidated by well-written books. I guess.
with like 20 books in the story, yes. Yeah.
You've read how many codexes?
We can all
Wheel
become
of Time.
Wikipedia
Wheel of
warriors
Time.
here in a minute.
I'm intimidated by Wheel of Time because do you guys know the Raymond D. Feast books, novels?
Oh, yeah.
There's like 30 books. I've read all those through a couple of times, and I just don't have it in me to start another 30-book series.
We can do a whole nother podcast.
How many editions have you played, Adam?
A couple. A couple.
Okay, well, times however many editions that is by about 20, and that's how many books you read for each edition. Those are codexes.
What you should have said is, how many books in the Horus Heresy do you own and have read multiple times?
There you go. There you go.
The number is more than 10, less than 30.
I do appreciate the reach, and I will gladly take whatever supplement someone writes for the Tanith first and only. That sounds awesome.
How many books in the Tanith?
This is what the people have been missing.
It's around 15.
By the way.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing in the dark. It's around 15.
Going back to the Blood Angel Codex specifically, doing a lot of thinking about, it's easy
back to the Blood Angels.
Yeah, I think when you are looking at the new Codex supplement of like what all from this book can you make part of it, but I think, not forgetting that it's specifically designed to pull units from Codex Space Marines, and in the Liberator Assault Group, which is the Red Marines. That are just, their detachment rule, getting the +1 attacks and +2 to strength on the charge. It basically, goes back to the early days of where in a Blood Angel list, every Marine is an assault Marine, and it makes the more assaulting Marines even better. So we talk about the transports like before. You got some Impulsors, you got some Blade Guards, you got Company Heroes. Like all those units get better being Blood Angels and the Liberator Assault Force, if you ask me.
It's true. So, yeah. I've got a feeling the Liberator is going to end up being the best one, which is a little bit, because it was it's just the index one with a few changes. But man, oh man, I really like the what's the Descent of Angels one?
The Angelic
Bounty
Host or
Angelic Host. Yeah, that's my favorite because that's just such a new, different way to play.
Well,
whereas Liberator is pretty much the same thing you've already been doing, just with a different outfit on.
I agree that the Angelic
it's got a new hat
is good, but I also think that when you wrap in bring in the Inceptors,
with
the plasmas that can deep strike 3 inches away. I mean, what on earth why do I care about deep striking in with just bolters? Like, wait a second. There may be some other units in the book, the other book this is built off of, a supplement for, that might be able to benefit from that. And I think that once you, like in the list that I talked about last week, it had Death Company and 3 units of Sanguinary Guard in there. I don't know that 3 units of Sanguinary Guard are going to be the most optimal choice. I don't know that the Death Company need to be in that list, and certainly not a 10-person squad with Lamarties. So that starts to free up some points for the utility. So I do think that the Liberator Assault group will be probably the most straightforward list to build.
Well, it's the way that people just pick up what they're playing now with minor alterations and continue.
Yeah, and it does. I think it turns every Marine unit that you have in there into a better Marine unit. So that is
as long as it punches, yeah. But yeah, even if it, you're correct. Even if it doesn't punch,
it's still +1 attack, +2 strength.
It will punch now.
Yeah, punches harder. It does something where it might not have done something before. But I do think I think that the angelic host. See, this is all about depending on points. Like if the points are so tight to where you don't have enough units to really use the up and down ability, then you're going to feel like it's missing some fangs. If you do have the points enough to do that, then it's going to be good. And right now, as the list that I built, you take out the death take out 300 or 400 points and put in 300 or 400 points of utility.
Yep.
And then you start to, I think your win percentage of your games are going to start smoothing out a little bit. And then you're going to want to tank those utility units out of the Codex Space Marines. So that's where I'm at with the Codex right now.
Are you done with Blood Angels now?
Yeah, I've solved it. Yeah, check it off. Solved. Don't have to play again. No, I'm playing 3 games this weekend, actually.
Oh, so next week we're also going to talk about Blood Angels with innovations in gameplay?
Yeah, we might.
Maybe.
Now we're theory crafting now, right? Like, what is going to be the best list? But the 2 lists that I am bouncing back and forth are the red and the gold. That's kind of what people probably refer to them as. But I'm like, oh man, how many Blade Guard do I need? I think they're going to be really good. I've actually always been a fan of Blade Guard, and that's part of my bias is that when I see something that makes them a little bit better, and I haven't used them that much because they've kind of, they're kind of like a middle of the road unit. But I think they're going to get a little bit better in this, and then now with how maybe some of the meta is evolving, and maybe a couple of transports. Mephiston also really good, and maybe Blade Guard get better with Mephiston and the Sanguiner.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's if my opponent has listened. That's what they're going to face the day this comes out. Oh, but I just want to point that out. Is that I think that the Blood Angels are going to be. I think they're going to be strong. I think they're not. I don't think they're losing too much of a step in overall functionality with going to the Codex, and I think it will be a little bit of a adjustment as people get their Death Company sorted out. But I don't even know that you are going to want a bunch of Death Company because of the other tools that you have in the book and how the other unit is going to function. So overall, it is a change, and it will require. And if you're relying on Librarian Dreadnoughts, well, you won't anymore. But of course, how the Death Company worked is going to be a little bit more different. But they still hit pretty hard, and people should still be pleased.
Pleased or scared?
I don't think people are going to be as scared of the Death Company anymore.
No.
I don't think so. Because you can plan for them a little bit better, I think, but they're still going to get a lot of hits. They're going to do a lot of what they want to do, and the only real drawback to their liability is that you need a chaplain with them, but you kind of want one there with them anyway.
Yeah.
So, the options that people you can now make it all black armored force if you want, which is neat.
Yeah, I do think the Lamarties unit is still absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Like 10 with Lamarties is never going to be a bad thing. But how far you go past that is personal preference and play style.
Yeah. And so, well, that is what I want to talk about this week with the Blood Angels. I'm sorry I had to get my gripes out a little bit just to what was it? Cathartic. I got to get
Closure.
Got to get it worked out.
I understand. I got it. Okay. Got it. A little, yeah, cathartic. That was good. Yeah, let it go every once in a while.
Hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Don't forget to that like, share, and subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. The comments down below also help a lot. This will be on YouTube, and it will also be as a video and a podcast, and then of course on the podcast aggregators. It's been a pleasure. We will see you all next week, everybody.
See yous.
Bye, everybody.